Scott's having computer problems. We can't see you. There you are. Maybe.
What about now?
Well, you're just a little blurry. What's going on over there?
I don't know. We are not using any technology, just like we're back in the 90s, so that the internet reception can work.
I hear it's really rough living in Leawood, so I see.
Yep, we live in a dead area, but thank goodness you run the whole show and do all the behind the scenes. So very thankful. You look very tan.
Yeah, I got sunburn. It's just really a sunburn. I'm gonna look like a cheetah in 2 days when I start peeling. Are you frozen?
Well, good. Well, was being on the beach a good vacation?
You know, I had a good time. My daughter, it was just me and my daughter, and it was a good time. Yeah, we like to go to have you ever been to the Floribama?
I have not. Tell me about it.
I think there must be a delay. Okay, so I don't know why nobody in Kansas City does this. So here's a free business idea if somebody wants to do it. But in Florida and Alabama, where they meet, there's a bar called Floribama. So it sits right on the state line. And it actually was a reality show and everything. And it is way cooler because it's also a beach and like different rooms of different live music. But it's like one of the most iconic bars in America. But it sits on the state line and it's Floribama. So my daughter and I were like talking. You can go there during the day with kids because there's a beach and stuff. So we like to go there. They have really great food too. And they have bingo. They have all sorts of fun stuff. But we were talking about like if someone did that on state line here, what would they call it? Because you can't put Kansas and Missouri very well together as words. So this is going to be weird because there's.
I'm so delayed.
You really are delayed.
I know. Don't worry. I will find a technology solution here.
Okay, you do the technology solution. Let me talk real quick, and we'll just get our guests in so they can do the most of the talking. So, first of all, we hope everyone had a good Labor Day. Let us know if you're watching from Facebook, YouTube, or LinkedIn. Paul, with his weekly jokes, says he's watching from a Travis Taylor wedding planning meeting. I have no idea why that's hot pink. This software changes all of the time. I'm going to need in on that wedding. Me and Scott will be on the golf course next to their house very soon. So just grab us from there. So let us know if you're watching live or the replay. Today's pretty exciting because we have two guests that neither one of us have ever met, which doesn't happen a whole lot. Both referred by former guests. But before we bring them in, we do want to talk about Bestway and Bestway International and Evardy. Bestway, please go follow their LinkedIn page. They are doing Cargo Cafe every month. So it is in a couple of weeks, and it talks about it's just what's going on when it comes to shipping for your business. So what's going on with the latest tariffs, what's going on with the latest policy changes, what you need to know, how to save money when you're trying to ship internationally and domestically. So make sure you go do that. And Evardy is doing some insane things. Some amazing builds right now, which Scott can talk to. Maybe we'll talk about that a little bit more next week. But if you see it built in Kansas City and it's looking really good, it's probably Evardy. So pretty exciting stuff. I feel like Scott is he's just going to be fun to watch today. Scott, you're moving in slow motion, and it's a good time. Anyways, I'm going to bring in our guests. I used to prep people for this terrible music that I'm about to play, which is your favorite. But I didn't prep anybody today, so they just get to hear this music. Sorry, guys. It's the worst. All right, so now we're going to bring in our guests. We're super excited. Like I said, we are meeting them for the first time, too, so get your questions ready. We've got Ron and Zach. Hi, guys. How are you?
Doing great. How are you all doing?
We are I'm great. Scott's struggling. He's gone. So
Scott left.
It's just the three of us. He'll be back. He'll be back soon. Anyways, all right. So I'm not going to pull up this because look, it goes over Zach's head unless Scott comes back. So look at that. Hi, Scott.
Better?
Live television.
There he is.
There you are. Maybe.
Apologies. Switched computers.
Hold on. I'm taking our guest out because that's going to drive me crazy. There we go. Round robin. We're playing round robin. I should have done this again because it's Scott's favorite now that he can hear it. So bad, guys. All right, here we go. I'm going to do the clock now. So here we go. We're going to ask you 3 rounds of questions. Are you guys ready? And Ron, who are you? What do you do? How do you get to Kansas City?
Okay, so I'll go first since the other one's video's not there right now. Who am I? I am a leadership consultant, work with non-for-profits and for-profit businesses, do some motivational speaking as well as just public speaking on the topic of rethinking race. Recently published a book of that title, Rethinking Race. The way I got to Kansas City, I was a member of the Kansas City Chiefs in 1987. That was my introduction to the city, and then worked with the Fellowship of Christian Athletes for about 7 years. So been here for a little while and just love Kansas City and glad to call it home.
So what was your first entrepreneurial journey after the NFL?
My first entrepreneurial journey was I started a motivational speaking business and a leadership consulting. Started working primarily with the education community. Did some work with Don Bosco Center here in Kansas City, and then kind of traveled around the country talking to different groups about success motivation.
What is your favorite part of the business, and what's your fastest growing part of the business?
My favorite part is falls into that mission statement. My personal mission is to open eyes to possibility and to inspire actions to shape your world. Really fundamentally believe that each one of us has that capacity and spark of divinity to have an impact and shaping the world that we live in. A lot of people feel like they're kind of stuck, or maybe they're limited in their potential. And what I do is kind of have conversations, and whether it's as a speaker or just as a consultant, interacting with people at a way that just kind of says, hey, what's in your heart? What's on your mind? If you could do anything you wanted to do, what would that be? And then what does it take to get there? And, you start getting people to talk about, why do you think it's possible for you to do that? And I remember being a young boy, when the Chiefs won their first Super Bowl, and thinking I wanted to become a professional football player. And of course, everybody around me said, no way, it's not possible. But my dream was I wanted to do it. So I began to dig into what would it take if I wanted to become a pro football player? What kind of work ethic, what kind of responsibility, what kind of skills would it require to get there? And that's a very transferable construct for anyone who's looking at whether they're going to start a business, whether they're going to work in a job situation, but to really give people creative tools and resources to create the life they want is what I work to do.
Okay, I have a super random question. Back when you were playing for the Chiefs, who is the artist that if you would have looked up in the stands and been like, I can't believe they're at our game, like Taylor Swift now, who would that
Oh, wow.
Great question.
Michael Jackson. How about that?
That's a good one. Wonder who you would have been dating.
Didn't Michael Jackson play at Arrowhead or was that the early 90s?
You know what? I think it was early 90s. You know who actually I saw at Arrowhead was Dolly Parton and Kenny Rogers. It was pretty amazing.
I love Dolly Parton.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Me too.
All right, Zach. Hey, just fun fact. I have a Dolly Parton stand-up thing downstairs. And Scott, remember when she used to be on the show sometimes? Dolly Parton. All right, Zach, who are you? What do you do? How do you get to Kansas City?
Well, my name is Zach Nicholson, and I am the executive director and the founder of Minding the Gap. We are a nonprofit that serves public schools in the Grandview and Hickman Mills school districts, mostly elementary schools. And what we do is we bridge academic and emotional gaps in the lives of children by teaching reading skills, building self-esteem, and promoting healthy connections to caring adults. Practically, that means that we do a tutoring and mentoring program that we call Building Bridges. We host an after-school Bible club at the schools called the 180 Club. And then the third thing we do, we call it the extra mile. It is basically student and staff and family support. So for instance, we'll buy a Chick-fil-A lunch for the entire staff at a school during Teacher Appreciation Week. We meet with the principals once a month to just try and help them attain their goals. A lot of attendance, ice cream parties. Been doing that since 2020. I will be married for 26 years September 10th to my wife, Holly. We have 5 children, ages 21 to 16. And being in the nonprofit space, they are my retirement plan. So hopefully we're on track there. And I am born and raised in Wichita, Kansas. And in 2007, started to feel a call to ministry in our mid-30s, 2 kids, and made the move. We didn't want to look back when we were 80 years old with regret and think, what would have happened if we moved to Kansas City? So we had that opportunity and we went through that door. So 2007, moved up here, and it's been home ever since.
Do you ever have anyone that tells you have a lookalike on college football?
Who is it? Oh, is it? Oh my God, McAfee.
You got it. Okay.
I've never had that before, but I'll take that. I've never had that one before. I think it's my platinum blonde hair. It keeps on getting more and more platinum over the last year or two. So yeah, I used to have a lot of lookalikes, but now apparently it's him. So we'll take that though. I hope it's a compliment.
It's a gutsy question to ask. Like, did you know you look like someone? One time someone said I looked like John Belushi. I was like, oh, okay. I don't know if that's good. But
all right, I have an actual question. If you're done with
I like that one though. Thanks.
I'm done. It's a good looking guy.
Even though he used to be a punter. So I don't know if that's a compliment or not now that I think of it.
Okay, so you have said you have 5 children, and then now you have this nonprofit that works with kids. At what point in like your personal, because I feel like I really like my kids, but it also makes me realize that I'm just good with my kids, right? Like at what point in your like journey did you realize that not only did you feel like your calling was to help these 5 kids, that you felt that was a bigger calling for you?
So funny story. I'll probably jump at that with my pivotal moment, but in a nutshell, that we have 5 kids, love my kids, but interestingly enough, my wife and I never changed a diaper until we were in the hospital with our firstborn child, thinking, what in the world did we just do? We didn't grow up around kids. All of our cousins and everybody were always kind of older. So it is ironic now that I am in this space now, because though I love our kids, I never considered myself a kid person. But the pivotal moment that we'll talk about here in a minute, that was what really led us down this path. So.
Love that. Okay, real quick before Scott asked that question, I just wanted to make sure we saw this. Paul saw the Jacksons in Arrowhead in 1985. So that was a little
Paul's our comedy writer, but as we transition back, what was the most pivotal moment in your career?
Ron.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can you repeat the question?
I gotta go. You can't snake backwards. Sorry, Ron.
Can you actually repeat the question?
Ron, what was the most pivotal point in your career?
Oh, pivotal. But there's been a few pivotal points. But one of the most recently, I was working as a consultant with Lee Summit School District as a leadership consultant, and been with them for about 4 or 5 years. And they got a new superintendent who came in. I worked with them for about 4 or 5 months, and things seemed to be going well. And one day he pulled me aside. He said, hey, can your training prove that Lee Summit's racist? And I'm like, kind of taken aback, because I'm a leadership consultant, and but I said, no, I really don't. I'd lived in the community for about 5 years at the time. And I said, I really don't think the community is racist anyway, but that was our falling apart, because he no longer wanted to work with me after that. But the very next week, there was a Kansas City Star headline, Lee Summit Superintendent says community is racist. So he really didn't want me to prove it. He wanted me to back him up when he made his declaration. Well, what that did for me, it kind of inspired me to really start thinking about, am I missing something? Is there some piece of this component on the racial side that I'm not addressing? And so I started digging into my own personal history and background and relationships that I had had. I started looking at really American history and the racial dynamic that I understood from history, and ended up writing a book about 230 pages on rethinking race and how maybe things are better than what we've been led to believe. One of the more significant things in terms of this, digging into the research of American history was to look at our Civil War, and how when you think about the U.S. Civil War, if you look at it through the lens of the Gospel of John, chapter 15, it says, "Greater love has no man than this, than he laid down his life for his friend." And I think about the U.S. Civil War in a light that you had over 360,000 Union soldiers who laid down their lives so that my great-grandfather could be free. And I think, what a powerful statement, and why don't we celebrate that? Because it's really rather remarkable. And so that kind of thing, digging into that was a significant pivot and turn in my journey professionally. Really kind of invested myself in the last couple of years and just trying to help get that message and work with people in that context. And one of the things that I learned in my journey is that I found, studying my own family history, my great-grandfather was a slave in Cooper County, Missouri. So real close to Columbia, about 30 minutes west of Columbia. And the plantation house that he didn't live in it, but the plantation house where he was a slave is still in existence today, because it was the largest land grant plantation west of the Mississippi. And so the building is actually still there today. And last summer I got to go see it, and it was surreal. I can tell you about that. So that kind of pivoted me into the space of racially, just having conversations with people about race and helping to move forward and build stronger connections.
Ron, I could ask you questions for days as a big history guy, but can you put that book in the group chat?
I will work to do that. I'm on my phone, so I'll have to do it later. Well, maybe I can pull it off.
We'll do it. And then, I would geek out big time on that. Now, Zach, what about yourself? You're talking a little bit. What's the most pivotal point in your career?
I would say that I have two, actually. So when we were considering moving up here in 2007 to go into ministry, just felt that call to full-time ministry. My wife and I was mid-30s. We were both mid-30s, mid-career. I was had my own construction company. She was working as an accountant at Koch Industries. So we had two kids, so life was good, but felt that calling and decided to move here in 2007. So that set us on a completely new path from where we are at. So that was definitely pivot point number one. And then in about 2014, my boss at the church that I was serving in sent me to the Grandview Middle School at a Caring for Kids meeting. It's a local nonprofit that brings together businesses, nonprofit churches to address specific needs at particular schools. And so I said, what am I supposed to be doing here? I had started our men's ministry. I led adult small groups. All of my ministry experience was small with adults. And like I said earlier, my wife and I never changed a diaper until we were in the hospital with our first daughter. And so with 5 kids, we were not kid people necessarily. But my first meeting, I went in there and just, hey, I want to be a blessing. What can we do to serve the school? And apparently their funding had just been cut, and they had an after-school tutoring program, and they didn't have snacks for the students that came after school for tutoring. And so I thought, this is crazy. For a couple of $100s, we could be an incredible blessing to give these kids snacks and provide snacks. So I said, that's great. We'll do that. We'll cover the snacks for the rest of the entire year. And so from that place, over the next year, a couple of years, I just got more and more involved doing these one-off projects. And then I started to really get in connection with the opportunity gap and the literacy crisis happening in our schools throughout the nation. And it's much different to see things on the news or hear about a newspaper article. But when you actually touch it and you see the lives that are affected by it, and then you see the teachers who are just working so hard to make a difference in the lives of these students, I just really felt led to, after 4 or 5 years of serving in that way, to start a nonprofit, Minding the Gap, that addresses these types of things. So, okay, I see the clock now. I was wondering where I was at the time. So
You're doing
I would
great.
say that. So 2007, felt that call to ministry, moved us to Kansas City out of the corporate business world. And then 2014, 2015, a chance meeting at the Grandview Middle School that I had no idea what I was getting into. And now, if you'd have told me 10 years ago that I'd be doing anything with children or that type of thing, I would have said you're crazy.
So what's the most exciting part about what you do today?
I would say that my favorite thing is just to see the look on the kids' faces, whether we're going in there for a tutoring session or our Bible club, to see them, their faces light up, they run, they give you a hug. And probably my favorite story, I've got a lot of them, but last year, our most recent one, at the end of the year, we had a little project where we had a coloring sheet in our Bible club, and it was kind of like a cartoon thing where there was an open bubble and then a person speaking. So we colored it, but then we had these Bible verses clipped off, little strips of paper. And so that was the craft. At the end of class, we were starting to throw everything away, and one of the girls came up and said, "Hey, can I have all of those extra little clippings of paper?" We thought, sure, we were going to throw them in the trash. Why do you want this? And she goes, "Well, it just reminds me that my life matters to God." And so for those moments to be able to just come in and serve children, families, and those types of things, it's extremely rewarding. And so that's why we do it.
Awesome. Hey, Scott, let's not ask anyone to type again into the private chat till afterwards.
Yes, that was my fault. Sorry, Ron. My bad.
We kept it going, though, I think, and I hope.
Yeah. That's Aaron's going to beat me up a little.
Well, kind of. I don't know if you saw how many people fell off during that.
I saw the clock fall off, and I thought, am I
couldn't
rambling?
see it, but I knew I wasn't there.
All right,
Thanks
and
for
Ron, your microphone's a little messed up now, so I'm going to ask you to speak loudly to this last question because I think you moved your phone when you were doing it. So,
Okay.
the last thing is, how are you doing on your 2025 goals, and how can the Kansas City community help you get to your goals?
Well, my goal is just really to reach as many people as possible with a message on this rethinking race topic, in terms of just really drawing people into a better understanding of how we work as a society, because there's a lot of amazing things. I had a chance to speak at Rockhurst University and talk to a group of students in their MBA program, and I had a young African-American kid. I call him a kid, he's 35, but that's just the way I roll. And he said that, he goes, "I didn't know what to expect when you were coming. I heard you were coming and talking about this topic." He said, "But after listening to you, I feel like it was a significant healing in my own personal racial journey." Well, that's profound and deeper than, kind of my own expectations. And then I spoke to a group of college students in Colby, Kansas, of all places. And I had my implicit biases. I went there thinking I'm going to see a bunch of guys in, bib overalls and straw hats, and but it was actually a very diverse community. It was a college community, and but talked about this whole concept of rethinking race, and asked them questions about how they felt like things were going. And it was amazing to hear them say, "We feel like on our campus here, we've got it together. We really work together. People respect one another. We value one another. But when we look at the world outside, we see challenges because of the images we see really on television." And I think a lot of the things that we see on TV that feed the narrative that somehow America is racist is part of the problem the challenge. I was on an airplane flying from Phoenix to Kansas City a couple of years ago, and sat next to a 75-year-old white lady. And she asked what I was doing. At the time, I was working on this Rethinking Race book. And she said, I told her about the book, and she goes, "Well, America is racist." And so I just, politely asked her, I said, "Well, why do you say that?" And she pauses and she thinks for a little bit, and she's kind of perplexed. And then she just kind of responds, "I guess I never really thought about it." And, we had a conversation for the next hour and a half or so, a long flight. And afterwards, she goes, "You really opened my eyes. Thank you so much for sharing what you've learned in terms of your study." And I think there's a lot of people who sometimes have an awkwardness when it comes to discussing the issue of race, first and foremost. But secondly, we tend to have this bent that says, yeah, there's a racial problem here. But the reality is we have a lot of people who are on the good side and working together with good people. And throughout American history, that's been the case. Is that when you look at the abolition of slavery, it was a group of blacks, whites, and everybody else who jumped in and did their part to make the change. Same thing with the civil rights movement. Same thing with the Underground Railroad. All these different pieces that saw people come together is really the aim of my work, and helping people do that is what I hope to do in 2025.
Awesome. All right, Zach. How are your 2025 goals going, and how can the Kansas City community help you get there? Zach.
All right. You can hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So we are in the process of launching for the 25-26 school year. We've just done all of our training and our kickoff luncheon, so we'll start all of our programming next week. And I would say we're in 5 schools right now. We've been invited to be in all of the elementary schools in both Hickman Mills and Grandview, along with other school districts throughout the city. But just like every other nonprofit in the history of the world, we need donors to finance the Chick-fil-A lunches and those types of things. And I would say even more importantly, we need volunteers. We need those ones who would just want to go in and tutor and mentor students, serve in that Bible club, go pass out ice cream sandwiches. So I would say that is the most critical thing that we would love to connect with more businesses, nonprofits, churches, to raise up volunteers to go in and just sit with the student. So with our Building Bridges tutoring and mentoring program, to me, that's the easiest thing for people to get involved in. It's 1 hour a week, and the schools are so desperate for the help that they will find a child or students for you to work with no matter what your schedule is. So if you're available anytime for 1 hour from 9:30 till about 3:30, Monday through Friday, we will find students for you to go in and mentor. And part of our just goals are to do all the heavy lifting, because there are a lot of people out there that want to make a difference, that want to serve their community and just give back, but they just don't have the bandwidth to try and find different opportunities. What do I got to do? What hoops do I need to jump through? So we try and do all of that heavy lifting on our part. So you just show up with your driver's license on Tuesday at 10 a.m. and you go mentor and tutor a student. So I would say that is just more connections within the Kansas City community to volunteer.
I have a quick question. Is it where they want the same mentor every time? Is that how it's set up? So like if you can you volunteer one time and still make a difference, or do you have to commit to a weekly or monthly volunteer?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we do have the 3 programs. So with the tutoring, the Building Bridges program, we do ask that our volunteers commit to 1 hour a week and try and do the whole entire school year. And what we mean by that, if you can make it 75% of the time, that's a success. At the end of the day, people are busy. And so we do ask for a weekly commitment with the Building Bridges, just because you want to build that rapport with the student. With our Bible club, we have teachers. We just need people to come and help and pass out papers and pray with the kids. And then with our extra mile events, that is the easiest thing for people to connect with. We need people to go hand out ice cream. Or last week we went to 2 schools and welcomed kids back to school. Hey, welcome back. We're glad you're here. And so we have a lot of different opportunities for people, whether you can commit to once a week, whether you can't commit to once a week. We have a lot of different ways to be able to connect with us.
Okay, this is just a fun little note you might want to put for your donors, because you do Chick-fil-A, and I don't know, you probably already know this, but just in case people don't know this, Chick-fil-A is one of the only things you can buy that has the allergy options. I have a daughter that's allergic to gluten-free, so whenever a school does Chick-fil-A, that's one of the only things we can take part in, because they have the gluten-free options. So yeah, you can get more money when you say your Chick-fil-A lunches if you like, and it covers allergies. Okay.
Yes, that's good.
All right. Well, first of all, thank you guys so much. You can connect with both these guys on LinkedIn. So we've tagged them down in our LinkedIn here below. So if you're looking to have conversations, book Ron for speaking, donate to Zach's nonprofit, make sure you go connect with them. Thank you guys so much for coming on. So sorry about all the technical issues. This was crazy today. Thank you so much to Bestway International and Evardy Construction. And thank you, Scott, for being the best co-host ever. We will see you same time, same place next